by thanking a few people, Corey Wolf of Buffalo Art Studio for giving me the space, thank you very much. My parents for coming all the way from Texas, and I'll talk a little bit more about why I need to thank them in a bit. All the people who helped me with production and setup, a few of which are here, Nicole, Byron, Mark, Ripley, Chris Fox, Scaffidi, my friend Bruce, who's not here right now. But so my talk's going to take a couple of different segments. First, I want to talk about, since John said that he doesn't like it when others don't talk about their past, I'll talk a little bit about my past. So then I'm going to talk about sort of the concepts behind the word, why I'm making this stuff. And then I'm going to show a little bit of how I made it, because I know people are curious about that and keep getting asked, so might as well tell you all at the same time. So a little bit about me. Tim Scaffidi. I'm a MFA student at the University of Buffalo. In my third year, and this is my thesis show. I've been interested in computers, technology, and art ever since I was a kid. And actually, if you're friends with me on Facebook, you'll see that my profile picture is actually me sitting on my dad's lap in front of an Amiga 1000 using, what was it, First Shapes and Colors, I think, which is a drawing program for the Amiga. So that was my first foray into computer art. Then I went to Ithaca College, because I got free tuition, so thank you, and Mom, for working at Ithaca. Where they are known for neither computer science or art, but that's what I did anyway. But it was good, and I learned a lot about how to make things with both computers and with my hands, drawing, painting, sculpture, etc. I didn't get a whole lot of art history, so that's why I learned a little bit more of that in grad school, and I'll tell you a little bit about the art history behind this work. And then now I'm at UB, the Emerging Practices concentration, where I'm sort of taking my dual major in undergrad was computer science and art, and trying to merge those two things together. Okay, so first I'm going to talk a little bit about this painting here. So for this show, I'm going to be exploring the concept of dynamism. It's a term used by the futurists to describe an image or object which represents an action. The first time I encountered this term was when I saw this painting, Giacomo Balla's Dynamism of a Dog and Leash, which is at the Albright Knox. So I don't know if it's up there now, but I think it's in their permanent collection, so you can see that. And I was just enthralled by this because it seemed to be like one of the first paintings, sort of first attempts to even visualize motion over time, instead of just sort of pointing towards or implying an action through like a static imagery from someone like moving. We're actually seeing the superimposition of several different sort of like frames or moments in time. And in this one, we even have like in the leash here, these kind of in-between areas where like the chain may have stopped here and stopped here, but continuous motion throughout it. So Balla was mirroring the effect of like a motion blur created from just time-lapse photography or multiple images created, like multiple images superimposed in the same frame, which is something called chronophotography. So this is a Bragaglia brothers image that used early people that used time-lapse. Long exposure, I'm sorry, not time-lapse. This is an image by E.J. Murray from the chronophotographic process. So I started researching Balla and the futurists in general to get an idea of what they were thinking of and why someone would paint such a thing at the time, the Dynamism of Dog and Leash. Because it doesn't really seem to fit with much of the other work that was going on in the futurists. Like this image kind of stands out because it's different from Balla's own later work and also a lot of the other futurist work. This is Umberto Boccioni's work. You can see he's still using the concept of dynamism, sort of the superimposition or sort of trying to visualize the entire action all at once. But his, I mean, this is way more abstract. It's kind of got more of a sort of a menacing or an angry kind of feel to it. And the futurists were pretty angry people. So I think that the dynamism of a dog on a leash sort of stands out from, this is Boccioni, and this is one of Bala's later pieces. Again, very like kind of aggressive feel to it. So why did Bala paint that picture? Like, who was the woman? Why was the dog so important? And it wasn't until I saw the work of E.J. Murray, who's a French physiologist, that I could really start to understand where he was kind of coming from. So here's some more the chronophotographs that Murray was doing. So Murray was a physiologist by trade, so he was looking into physical aspects of the heart, or he came up with inventions for how to measure blood pressure better, because prior to him coming around, people were actually sticking things in your veins to measure the blood pressure, like a little metal flap that would like wave and move around in there. And they said, well, that's not really very good because we're interrupting the blood flow. So he used this like pressure device, kind of like what we have now. So he was really interested in better ways of extracting this information that's kind of already there. And Murray ended up, his work ended up crossing over into the art world by the way of the chronophotography. He invented something called the chronophotographic gun, and it was sort of this precursor to film camera, motion picture camera. It allowed him to take multiple exposures on the same piece of film. Up to 12 per second, I think, was the fastest he got around to. And these are some more. So he would do a lot of people kind of walking and running, and some of other animals and birds in flight. This was actually done with reflective tape that was put on the arms and legs and head to kind of sort of further abstract the human form and just get out what he wanted was just the motion. And so he showed these images publicly and inspired a lot of the artists like Bala and even Duchamp. So you can see the similarities here. They ended up incorporating his ideas of superimposing these images over and over back into painting because they were kind of pissed off at photography for taking away their source of income with portraiture and everything. So they're like, okay, we'll steal something back from photography. Made it square, I guess. But in the end, the futurists in general sort of ended up being less interesting to me than I'd hoped, but Murray was really great. I found Murray and kind of used him as a jumping off point for all the work that you see in here. Because I think he's really a true pioneer of like emerging practices and intersection of art, technology, and science. And what I think interested Murray and even me about this trace that's left over by an object moving through time is that the trace is a direct abstraction of its real-world counterpart, and it can present us with new information about its reference. So if we take a trace of a car moving over time, we can infer its acceleration, something like that. And this information is it's there, it's with us all the time, it's in plain sight, but the way that we perceive time sort of obscures that from us, kind of hides it. So dynamisms can be thought of as these kind of compressions of space and time, which is sort of what I'm trying to do here. It's a depiction of a spatio-temporal object, or representing an entire action over time. And the concept of dynamism implies that there's a subjective decision being made as to where and how we're going to cut time apart and sort of take this object out that we're going to call this action. Okay, this is a handshake, and this time before and after, that's not really the handshake. So where do you draw the line? Like, where okay, is it when I start moving my hand up to shake, or is it when the thought goes through my head that I'm going to, it's really subjective. And we have memories of an event or an action, but somewhere along the line we decide that that event began or ended. So the idea that was of greater importance to me is that the same thing that's true, the subjective cutting up of time, is also true of language. So like the words that we use to describe or define our world are also a subjective abstraction of our reality. So it's this link between visual abstraction of space and time and the mental abstractions of language, which we use to describe our experiences in space and time, that I'm interested in with this body of work. So why did Bella paint this image? And the woman, the dog. I researched this quite a bit, and I really couldn't come down to like, I couldn't find his artist statement about this piece or anything. So I'm just thinking, he's like sitting on a bench somewhere in Rome, and he sees a woman walking a dog by, and he just came out of like the gallery from seeing Mireille's work, and he's like, hey, I could paint that, And I think that's it. And I don't know if this specific content, this woman and this dog, is all that important, but I think the importance was bringing this kind of effect into painting and being able to visualize this concept. And I think also that this is a really playful piece, whereas a lot of his later work and a lot of the futurist work is very kind of, well, it's not playful, certainly. It's kind of angry, it's kind of menacing. And that's what I really love about this work, is that it's just this kind of really playful image. So now I want to explain a little bit about how these are made. So bear with me for a second, because I'm actually going to run the program that generated these prints for you. If I can get this thing to work. This is kind of cumbersome. All right, so we're actually going to be loading in this piece right here, which is me and Nicole doing a Swing Your Partner. So we'll load that in, and we'll be able to see it in the program that actually generated these images. Okay, so there's that image right there. But I can also rotate this around, and it ends up, you can sort of see Nicole in there now. It ends up sort of looking like this acrylic sculpture in the center, because it's all the same idea. What I'm doing is I'm taking this video of me and Nicole doing the Swing Your Partner move, and stacking all these frames on top of each other. And then that creates this 3D volume. So if you look at the sculpture here, you can see that from one angle, you'll see two figures, and the direction of time is this way in here. And in all the prints, the direction of time is from top to bottom, except for that one over there, and this one, which is right to left, or left to right. So it's the same idea. I'm taking these subsequent frames of video, stacking them on top of each other, and then this produces this volume. And I can show you the actual source video if Nicole doesn't mind. Okay. Okay, so should be able to advance. So these are the images that were used to make this piece right here. So grab your partner, swing your partner. Yeah, there we go. And the background was all white, so I was able to remove the background in the software. So when we look at the actual program running, we don't see any of the background, it kind of fades away, and then I get this, I get the actual forms, just like you see in the sculpture. That's what I've got for you. If anyone has any more questions about how I made it, or any other questions about the work itself, please don't hesitate to ask.
Well, why? Why?
Why? Well, you didn't get that from anything I said?
What are your reasons? Well, you wanted to know why he painted the picture of the woman with the dog. So why do you do this?
Why do I do this? Because I'm interested in that connection between how an action over time in our world, like we cleave up time like that. We say, okay, this is an action that we're going to then remove from time. We're going to objectify that and call that something. So then we apply language based on that, that subjective cleavage of time. We're saying, okay, that's an object. It's a linguistic object. And I'm interested in that. How did language evolve from our interactions with each other, basically? I don't know if that answers your question, but anyone else?